Canelo Alvarez weighs in at 167 and 1/2 pounds, 167 and 1/2.
Same shit that everybody else been saying since I moved to 147. I ain't fought nobody. Every last one of them stump a mud hole in their ass and he gonna be next. Why?
The build-up to Canelo versus Crawford is reaching a boiling point. Forget the usual calm face-offs. Every press event feels like the opening round of the fight itself. The tension between Canelo and Crawford is so heavy, you could cut it with a jab. The war of words is already hitting as sharp as any punch we'll see in the ring. Take that New York press conference, for example. When Crawford tried to shove Canelo, that moment pretty much shattered whatever respect Canelo had left for him.
What I don't respect about Crawford, his work. He say, I'm not gonna do anything I don't want it, or somebody tell me I need to do, and he do it in that. He tried to back me up, not pushing me, but like back me up, and that's why I put.
What I don't respect about Crawford, Canelo explained, is that he says he won't do anything just because someone tells him to. But then he went ahead and did exactly that. He tried to step into my space, not by shoving me, but by backing me up, and that's why I pushed him.
You pushed him back. Is animosity building, or it's just part of the moment?
You know me. No, I'm not fake. I don't like to do that kind of stuff. I always respect my opponents, but they with me, so it's different, you know. What I think is Turkey, like she told him, hey, you need to do something. You see so nervous in Riyadh in the press.
Canelo is now claiming that Crawford didn't even come up with the shove on his own, that it was Turki Alalshik who whispered in his ear to stir things up. He mocked the whole moment, comparing it to something out of pro wrestling rather than a championship press conference. And when Canelo said, "If you mess with me, it's different," you could tell he wasn't joking. Every word carried weight.
After the press conference with the push, what was your reaction to that?
I just laughed at it, as you can see. You know, I love things like that. You know, it excites me. I'm more motivated.
The wild part? Crawford just laughed it off while Canelo was steaming. Didn't even blink, just smiled like, "That's cute, champ." To him, that shove was nothing more than a mosquito bite. Irritating, but not worth scratching. And now he's doubling down, saying he doesn't even need a knockout to beat Canelo. That's icy confidence right there, basically saying, "I'll school you round after round while you're swinging at shadows."
Fighter or great fighter? Let me know.
I'm a great fighter.
So you got your ass whooped
You're
by
a
a good fighter, right?
You're a good fighter.
I'm saying.
But I'm great.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Canelo's supporters are sweating like their internet just crashed mid-Netflix binge. And Crawford? He's not talking if he wins. He's saying when he wins. That's confidence tipping into straight disrespect. Like showing up to a job interview already rocking the company hoodie. At that moment, the press conference stopped being polite and turned into pure ego combat. Canelo locked eyes with Bud and told him straight, "You're good, but I'm great."
That means you're a good fighter and Bivol is a great fighter, right?
And question.
Well, every time you stepped up, you lost. Great fighter.
I'm not.
And the way Crawford doubled down, it wasn't just confidence, it was a straight message. "I've walked the path you're on, and trust me, those shoes don't fit." Then came the knockout line from the press table, the Bible bomb. Crawford fired off, "Every time you climb up, you fall short." Basically dragging up that night when Dimitri Bivol turned Canelo into a furious redhead, stuck trying to solve high school algebra.
Like I always said, I'm a big fan of Canelo. He's a great fighter, but I think I'm better.
Bro, that wasn't just trash talk, that was a straight up resume check. You could feel the room tilt when he said it. This isn't just hype anymore. It's pride on the line. Now the fight isn't just about straps, it's about legacy cleanup. Canelo's chasing redemption, trying to bury the shadow of that Bivol loss once and for all. And Crawford? He's out to prove he's not just great, he's the greatest. Even in Canelo's backyard, interview 9, and just when you thought the flames couldn't get any hotter after that face-off, Eddie Hearn jumps in with the promoter spin. He's out here saying, Canelo's not exactly chasing this fight, because if he wins, people will just shrug and say Crawford was the smaller guy. And honestly, he's got a point. Boxing fans can be ruthless, like food critics who'll complain about the seasoning even if the meal's fire.
I don't think it's a fight Canelo really wants, if I'm honest, because I think he feels like he won't get a lot of credit beating a light middleweight. And Crawford's going to move a lot in that fight, which is not ideal.
You beat a legend, and folks will say he was past his prime. You beat a smaller guy, and they'll claim he never belonged in the division. It's never enough. But Eddie knows the real storm for Canelo is still at 175. Bivol out there stacking wins, and let's not forget, he already schooled Canelo once. That's why Eddie's not just promoting. He's playing chess while the rest of us are still arguing over checkers.
I mean, like, you know, if Bivol wins, he could fight him for undisputed. That's a very tough fight. What's the other options? You know, Benavidez is up at 175. Obviously, His Excellency wants to make that fight, so guess we could see it.
And while Eddie Hearn's out here moving pieces like it's fantasy boxing, Stephen Fulton steps in sounding like the voice of the fighters. He's backing Crawford, not for the payday, but because Bud's got that daredevil DNA. He's the kind of guy who signs up for uphill battles just to prove he can climb them. Fulton basically said, "I respect anyone bold enough to chase challenges most people would avoid, because I've been there too." And he's not wrong. If Crawford actually pulls this off, his resume doesn't just improve, it becomes the stuff of legend. The kind of story you pass down to your grandkids.
Went with Crawford this fight. It's nothing against Canelo, because Canelo's a hell of a fighter. I don't know how he is as a person. Neither the guy, I don't know how neither of them are as a person, but I like Crawford for challenging himself. Like, that's the type of things I do and I've done. So I like anybody that's willing to.
What I love about Fulton here is how he breaks it down without overcomplicating it. He's saying plain and simple, use your boxing brain, stay sharp, and don't let Canelo bait you into a slugfest. That's real wisdom. Because if Crawford tries to match power with power, he's stepping straight into the lion's den. But if he keeps it slick, keeps it smart, suddenly the smaller guy becomes the puzzle no one can solve. And the thing is, Fulton's not selling hype. This is a fighter speaking on another fighter's mentality. And that just hits different.
Money or not, you still have the heart to go in there and challenge the bigger guy. So, but I think it's gonna be, I think if Crawford uses his boxing ability, then it'd be a better fight.
So Fulton was busy giving Crawford his flowers for daring to step up. And then George comes sliding in like that one friend who flips the whole barbershop debate upside down. You can hear the conflict. 1 second he's rocking with Bud, the next he's swinging back to Canelo. It's like he's switching jerseys mid-argument just to keep the fire going. And honestly, who hasn't done that? We've all had those, "Nah bro, I just changed my mind after watching a couple of highlight clips at 2 a.m. moments. But George frames it like a chessboard. If Canelo cranks up the pressure cooker, Crawford's night could end quick. If Bud stays slick and makes Canelo chase ghosts, then it's the judges raising his hand.
Canelo is the pressure fighter. He's got to put the pressure on Crawford. He has to be able to land his big shots. He's seasoned at fighting a super middleweight. He's fought as high as light heavyweight, as we know. So he is accustomed to the bigger punches, the bigger shots. I don't think Crawford can really land anything that's going to trouble.
Let's keep it real. The size difference is the loudest uninvited guest in this whole debate. Crawford's got finesse, no doubt, but Canelo looks like he was carved straight out of a weight rack. George boiled it down to 2 roads for Bud: dance around him and box like a phantom, or end up getting treated like Canelo's 13th heavy bag of the week. And when George leaned toward a stoppage, that was him sliding all his chips onto the red corner. I get it, I respect it. But if Bud really shocks the world, don't be surprised when half of boxing Twitter quietly deletes their old hot takes like nothing ever happened.
Fight, can go. Crawford's way of winning the fight, I truly believe, is he needs to outbox Canelo Alvarez. He needs to, maneuver him and make Canelo second guess himself every.
So right after George laid out his back and forth chessboard analysis, Duke McKenzie came through swinging with zero hesitation. No fence sitting, no maybes. He flat out said Crawford's about to school Canelo. And honestly, I get why he's riding that train. Duke looked at Canelo's recent fights and basically said, he's been looking more like a pedestrian than a predator, walking forward in straight lines with barely a head slip. Then he lit it up even more, comparing Crawford's switch hitting to a full-on nightmare buffet of angles and uppercuts waiting to land. You could almost picture Canelo's high guard getting pried apart piece by piece. What I respect is Duke's conviction, no sugarcoating. He's convinced Bud is overdue for that career-defining masterpiece. And if Crawford shows up with the same fire he's been spitting at pressers, we might just see Canelo eat more clean shots than a rookie at his first frat party.
Crawford talks with a lot of spite, and he means it. And I think he's going to do a number on Canelo. I really do. And I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if there's a late stoppage. I wouldn't. I don't think he knocks Canelo down, but Canelo could just be taking so many shots.
Duke McKenzie didn't just stop at giving Crawford the stylistic edge. He dug even deeper, throwing shade on Canelo's motivation. He straight up hinted that at this point, Canelo might be chasing checks more than challenges. And when a seasoned vet like Duke starts suggesting the fire isn't burning the same, that hits different. It lines up with what plenty of fans have been saying too. Canelo's been looking a little more flat-footed, combos a bit predictable, not the same snap that carried him through his destructive run years back. So yeah, Duke basically dropped the mic with this one. If Crawford brings the heat, Canelo could be in for a long night.
That's not going to beat Crawford, and Crawford ain't about to lay down or swallow or give up. Nowhere in that fight. Crawford will go, if he gets beat, which I sincerely doubt, he's going out on his shield. He's going down fighting.
Then along comes Dan Rafael, and when he speaks, it's like the boxing history books just cracked open. But this time, he wasn't just rattling off stats, he was selling the fight like it's the Super Bowl of the sweet science. Dan's take? Forget the last outings, forget the flat performances. Once these two square off, it's a whole different monster. And honestly, he's got a point. Sure, both guys looked a little just okay in their most recent fights. But when legacy's at stake, nobody's stepping into the ring half asleep.
Probably the biggest event of the year in boxing. They're both great fighters. They're both Hall of Famers in waiting. As a boxing fan, I'm thrilled because it's a very fascinating matchup with two all-time greats. With the obviously caveat that you got Terence Crawford moving up two weight classes to see what he can do against the undisputed.
Dan laid it out like this. Canelo understands he's staring down the pound-for-pound nightmare. And Crawford's walking in like it's the ultimate boss fight. No do-overs, no shortcuts, just pure skill and pride on the line. Personally, I love that framing because it guarantees one thing. We're not getting a going-through-the-motions Canelo, and we're not getting a cautious Crawford either. What we're getting is two all-time greats throwing down in a fight that could stamp their names in the history books forever.
Good in their last fight, but I suspect they're going to be a lot more into this fight. You know who you got in front of you in September, and Crawford's saying, I'm fighting the great Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's like, I'm fighting the 4-division champ, pound-for-pound type guy, and Crawford that's never lost. I better be really prepared. So I'm hopeful that aspect that they're really tuned in will make it a bigger.
Canelo versus Crawford isn't just another matchup. It's a straight-up battle for legacy. That shove in New York lit the fuse. Bivol ghost still looms over Canelo, and the analysts are split down the middle. Hearn's playing promoter chess, Fulton's giving Bud his flowers, Duke's shouting that Crawford's coming for it, and Dan Rafael's hyping the stakes like it's the fight of the decade. At the end of the day, this clash is about ego, style, size, and history colliding. We're either getting a tactical masterpiece or a pressure-fueled clinic, but either way, careers will be defined. If you vibed with the breakdown, do the channel a solid like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters. Drop your predictions in the comments, who wins and in what round. I'll be in there mixing it up with you, so bring your receipts. Hit the bell, follow us on socials, and we'll catch you in the next one. Same time, more smoke.